Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Author Spotlight. This is Taj Dashaun, Vice President of Self-Publish in 30 Days. Today, I'm joined by Miss Jacklin Drake. How's it going, Jacklin?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to have you here. We were just talking a little bit before we hit the record button. As much as I'd love to introduce you, I think it would be better if you introduce yourself to the people. Can you please tell everyone who Miss Jacklin Drake is?
All right. Well, I'm a certified coach, and I work with pastors and lay leaders in ministry. I help them to gain clarity and confidence to be more effective in their ministry. I've worked with over 75 pastors and churches over the last few years. And so I've gotten to know the struggles of both the clergy and the lay leaders within the church, and how it is that they struggle with focusing on just the really life transforming ministry. So I have founded a business called Effective Ministry Solutions, and that is a place where we can provide courses and resources for leaders in ministry. It doesn't have to be just pastors, all kinds of leaders we work with. I've published a book, which is kind of why I'm here today. And that is the title of it is A Canvas Touched by God. And it's a devotional book, which includes photographs paired with scripture and encouraging words. And I can tell you how that all got started if you want to know that story. Other things about me, I really enjoy hosting and speaking at women's retreats. I love serving in women's ministry and participating in our local mission projects. I've been married to my husband, Rusty, for 25 years. We have 3 married daughters and 1 grandson. And I currently serve as a district administrator for the United Methodist Conference in Oklahoma.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jacklin. Love the work that you're doing. I think that is very important work. And I love that although it is faith-based and that is your foundation and you're working with clergy and pastors, and you said over 75 different churches and organizations, which is very impressive. I love that you're using faith as your foundation, but you said it does apply the lessons that you're teaching, the methodology behind your business. It works for anyone in any industry, any type of leader. And I think that's amazing. I'm curious to know, and I'm sure the listeners would be curious to know, how did you decide to, number one, become a coach for this specific, very specific mission that you're on, but also what is it that had you start the business? And just how did all this come about?
Okay, so in my current job, which is working with the United Methodist Churches, I had the opportunity to take some coach training. And we really support that in our district and encourage our pastors and people that need to reach out and have a coach in their ministry or for their church. So the opportunity came up for me to go to Dallas and take training with Chris Holmes. So I did that it's been almost 3 years ago now. And I loved it. I really enjoyed doing it. I loved being able to work one-on-one with individuals and just help them through the process they were in and getting to a better place and setting goals and staying accountable. And so through that, I realized I had a passion there. And so that's how the Effective Ministry Solutions got started. I have 1 other coach that works with me, and we do what is called Next Level Leadership Academy. And so far, we have had mostly clergy enroll in that, but we have had a couple of lay people. We really geared it toward clergy to begin with, but we're finding out that it's for more than just clergy. So, youth pastors, committee leaders even have benefited from the information that we have. So it's very content-rich coaching, if you've heard that before. We have a course, we go through material, and then we have great group sessions together. So we have some group coaching, and then we have individual coaching. And we've finished 1 complete course, and we are enrolling for 2.0. And we've already got great interest in that, and I'll be kicking off in April.
Wow, that's amazing. We're gonna, of course, link all your information in the show notes and all that, so people can find out more about that. But just out of pure curiosity, I have to know: did you ever see yourself in this position, or is this something that's just kind of been a natural unfolding in your life, where this work that you're doing now has just sort of unfolded naturally, or was it like was little Jacklin looking to be in this position someday?
No, not at all. If you told me 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, that I'd be doing something like this, I would have told you you were crazy. I never saw myself as coaching at all, and especially in this line of ministry work. So it's been just, the Lord has just led me in it, absolutely. And I've just tried to follow and do what I felt like He was leading me to do, and create opportunity to help others, because ultimately what matters is kingdom work. And so
Mm,
if they can do their ministry more effectively and spend less time on all the paperwork and all the, daily routine things, then they have more time to really focus on souls.
wow, that's a beautiful thing. I really love that you hit on that, because it's so much bigger than, of course, you're developing people to be leaders so they can serve, as you mentioned. But what you hit on, whether this is, clergy or CEOs, freeing people up to operate in their gifts I think, something that is, I don't want to say underrated, but it's underserved, right? So for you to be able to come in there and say, hey, look, we're going to free you up to do the things that you do best, that just speaks volumes about your work. And having just recently connected with you, I'm even more excited about learning more about what you do than I was before that. And another thing I wanted to ask you is, I'm a coach as well. Aside from working with Self-Published in 30 Days, I do coaching for athletes who are retiring from their sport. And I'm curious to know, with you being a coach, have you found that you're able to grow through coaching others as an individual?
Yes. I I have found myself using my coaching experience with my family and my kids. I'm like, I ask those strategic questions to them, and they're like, really ponder on that. So it helps me to kind of step out of my own self and look at the bigger picture a little bit. So that definitely has helped me grow in my own um, maturity level, I think, even.
Mm, yeah. And then, okay, I have to ask, because you're talking about working with over 75 different churches and organizations. I mean, obviously, Jacklin, you're a go-getter, no question about that. For you to be able to develop these relationships, and have the type of impact where people are wanting to work with you and wanting to, get your expertise in what they do. How does one? Because there are a lot of people who listen to the show. They're aspiring business owners. They want to have an impact just like you're having. How does one go from? Because before you had 75, you had zero people who were benefiting from your services. How do you start the process of putting yourself out there, saying, hey, this is what I do, this is how I can help, to where you've been able to serve over 75 different organizations?
Well, I have built relationships through my current job, and that's really where I've gotten a lot of our clientele, is from our current relationships. And that's really what it all boils down to, is relationships. You connect with people, network with people that you have, like-minded things with, and um, they realize that you have value and can help them, and they're willing to come back and find out more.
Hmm. And then, did you write the book before you became a certified coach, or did that happen afterwards?
It was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the I'm always curious. I just published my first book last year, working on the second one right now. What was it that made you say, you know what, I'm gonna write a book? Like, what was the story behind that?
Well, it was several years ago, and I was I was publishing our local little women's ministry newsletter. Like, we did this once a month little newsletter thing, and I was asked to write a story for it. And just in writing that, I thought, oh, I want a picture that really would go with this. And the story was about the tree by the water, right? Growing your roots and getting that nutrients from the nearby water. And so I wrote this little story and got this picture, and then just after I finished it, it was just like the Lord showed me a book, like just like this, pictures with scripture and a little devotion that goes with it, very visual and short so that people could read it quickly, one a day, or really you could sit down and read the whole thing in one day without problem. It's just a small book, but so that's where the idea came from. And it took me a long time to put it together. I worked on it here and there, but not knowing the whole process of publishing or how to do it, I would just keep laying it down. And then finally, I was at a place in my life where my kids were growing up, and I had a little bit more time, and I devoted more time to it, and then kind of learned as I went what to do and how to get it published. So
what are and obviously, especially going into it the first time, most of us as first time authors have no idea what we're doing, where to get started. You just kind of start writing stuff, like you said, one thing leads to another. But in hindsight, what advice could you give to an aspiring author, someone who is looking to get their book written and or published the first time? What advice can you share for that process?
Find somebody who's already done it. Find somebody that's done it and has made the mistakes that you can learn from instead of having to make them yourself. With mine, it was color. And so that was a whole different thing. I didn't know anybody who had done a color book. So I learned something from that process. It looks a lot different than just a story, just black and white words.
Right.
That's the biggest advice I would say, is to find somebody you can partner with that's done it before, and just have a conversation, if nothing else.
Great advice right there. Now, I want to bring it back to the work you're doing now, Jacklin. What are some of the things because I know earlier we were talking about sometimes people get held up in other duties, which I don't want to say, affects their ability to serve, but kind of takes away from, it just gives them they have a bunch of different things on their plates. What are some of the things that you most commonly see that you and your organization can come in right away and start doing to free up some of that time for these leaders so they can serve more effectively?
One thing is to really just look at what all you're spending your time on and kind of do a short evaluation of where you're at in some different areas of your life. And we have a little tool that we use on our coaching process that really makes you be intentional about looking at each area and setting kind of a scale of where you're at in each, maybe it's ministry, maybe it's family life, maybe it's exercise, healthy way of life, could be recreation, just having fun. And evaluating each of those places and then seeing where you want to work on, what you want to work on. Just because you have a low score doesn't mean that's where you want to work. You may have something else that is really on your mind or you want to focus on. And I think that little tool and exercise helps people realize that they can let go of some things and work on something else, and that's okay. Kind of gives themselves permission to not do everything all at once, and just really hone in and work on one thing at a time. Set some goals and stay accountable to those things.
I love that. Well, I love many things about that, Jacklin, but the first one is what came to mind while you were sharing that is self-awareness. How you're coming into their lives and you're almost like doing an audit, like an assessment of everything. So it's a holistic approach. It's not just, are you spending too much time on admin or things like that? It's like you said, how's your health? How's your family life? All things that are equally as important to being the best servant, being the best leader you can be. So I think that's awesome that you do that. I think it's something that's not talked about enough, how there's there's not as much separation between business and work and home life and family life as some people may think. So I love that you're doing that. What is the future of the Next Level Leadership Academy? What is the future of everything you have going on? Like, what can people expect moving forward? What are some big plans you have in the short term, long term?
Okay, well, we have this one course that we really focused on for pastors, and I would love to have a course that really is just for lay people that have positions within the church, but they don't think that they can participate in a class that clergy are in. So it kind of separates that a little bit and makes them more comfortable to participate. That is my big goal for this year, is to get that up and running. The other thing that is in my future is I am speaking at a retreat next weekend, and a women's retreat, and we're super excited about that. I'm honored to get to be the coordinator for that, and I hope to do more of those. We have a team that works together, and we're looking at having spiritual growth retreats for women. And so that's coming in the future, hopefully this fall.
Nice. Looking forward to that. You even have you said in the fall, you have a timeline set for when you want to launch it. That's great. Makes it more real.
Yeah.
And this women's conference that you're speaking at, what's it called? How can people learn more about it or go to register and all of that?
Well, registration is actually closed for it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're in Oklahoma, and we had to reschedule we had it scheduled for when we had the big snowstorm in February. So we rescheduled for March, and looks like we're going to have great weather. We have 3 speakers, but we'll have other things coming up in the future. And I will start putting those things on my Facebook and website when those start coming up.
Awesome. And I'm assuming when the 2.0 of your course launches in April, that will be on your website and Facebook and everything as well?
Yes.
Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have all of your information listed in the show notes, but can you please share with the people how they can get in touch with you, how they can keep up with your journey, all of that good stuff?
Our Facebook is Effective Ministry Solutions, and we're on Instagram as well. And you can Google Effective Ministry Solutions, and we should pop up. Our course is on a platform called Member Vault. And so that's where we house all of our materials and kind of an online portal to work through the material.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, Jacklin, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for everything you shared. Before we get out of here, is there any parting words you'd like to share with anyone who's tuning in? Any advice, any words of wisdom, anything on your heart right now?
What comes to mind is just for those that are listening that are serving in ministry in whatever area it may be, you probably don't get enough recognition, because that's something that we tend to not do very well at. So I would just say to you people that are serving, keep it up. Don't quit, even though things get rough, and gosh, this past year has been just crazy. Thank you for your service, and thank you for what you're doing for the kingdom. Continue, don't give up, and keep moving forward.
Wow. You know what, Jacklin, I really do want to be respectful of your time, but I have to say this based on what you just shared. That is so important, because I didn't even think about, number one, people who are leading for the kingdom are often underappreciated, right? And then, like you said, given the year that we've had, or the past year we've had, having to make many adjustments. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you and say thank you for the work that you're doing, because during a time like this where so many pastors and clergy and leaders have had to make adjustments, I think the timing of what you're doing couldn't have been any better. It's almost one of those, if you build it, they will come type situations, where you already had the infrastructure ready for a time like this. And now that time is here you are to be able to serve and help people get through arguably some of the most difficult times of their lives. So thank you for the work that you do, Jacklin. I'm really glad we got connected.
Thank you. I appreciate you very much.
Awesome. Well, this has been another great episode of Author Spotlight. If you were listening on The Power of Story, thank you for tuning in there as well. You just heard from Jacklin Drake. Please get in touch with her. Check the information in the show notes. Support the work she's doing. Reach out to her with any questions or to seek her services. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Jacklin.
Thank you.